Well, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. My name is Sean Williams, and this is Stacy Henry, and we're back in the studio once again. And I was telling Stacy just a minute ago, as we were prepping up for the program, that I've been listening to a song all day long, and I wanted you guys to be able to be in tuned into it and kind of give you some insight of what we're going to be talking about today, and just let you know an encouraging song that I've been listening to by one of my favorite artists, Mary Mary. So I'm gonna let you listen to a little bit of it. Oh
Oh
yeah, yeah. So just a little
yeah.
snippet
Right.
of that song. So when you're trying to get encouraged and you need to be uplifted, turn on some Mary Mary, a great gospel group that has a very encouraging lyrics to the song, very encouraging lyrics to the words. I'm going to get into some of Mary Mary's lyrics and some of their words to their song. Um, you know, right before we get ready to go into our topic, I just want to do some house cleaning business right before we get into that. I thank the Lord for everybody that we served as families since the last episode. I know we ran that insurance piece. Me and Stacy giving you feedback on different information about having insurance on the last episodes. Thank the Lord for everybody that came up to me and said, Sean, you were very informative. Stacy brought out very, very intricate parts and details that can really help me and my family move forward to help us stay encouraged during our time of bereavement. So, man, I really appreciate everybody that walk up to us. I know, Stacy, you probably had a lot of people that gave you some feedback about that last program. I thank the Lord for everybody that came up to us to just give us a positive feedback on that last episode. And Jason, I thank you guys for UPTV for allowing us to be able to air that episode of just the importance and the need of insurance, and which is life insurance is a valuable piece of a product to have in place for you and your loved ones when you're going through a time of bereavement. So I thank the Lord for everybody that did that. Man, getting back to our episode, I thank the Lord for being able to be a part of Jericho Missionary Baptist Church, 1601 West Bloomington Road in Champaign, Pastor Lakevi C. Johnson. And he went on to a segment that was entitled Encouragers and Critics.
Great.
And that's going to be our topic today, encouragers and critics, people that's in your life. You know, one of the reasons why I was listening to that song, Mary, Mary, and I'm going to go through a few of the lyrics to be able to dialogue back and forth with you about encouragers and critics that are in your life. You know, the song is entitled by Mary Mary, a very, very popular gospel artist, two sisters. And I don't know what encouraged them to create such a magnificent song, but it is a great song that's inspiring to me. And some of the lyrics go out, and it says, take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. I just want to praise you. And it's giving all honor and references to just a higher being, God. And so you broke the chains, now I can lift my hands. I'm going to praise you. In the corners of my mind, I just can't seem to find a reason to believe that I can break free. Because you see, I have been down for so long, I feel like the hope is gone. But as I lift my hands, I understand that I should praise you through my circumstance. Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. You broke the chains, now I can lift my hands. Everything that could go wrong, all went wrong at one time. So much pressure fell on me. I thought I was gonna lose my mind, but I know you wanna see me. If I will hold on through the trials, but I need you to lift this load, cause I can't take any more. Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. Been through the fire, been through the rain, bound in every kind of way. But God has broken every chain, so let me go right now. Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. Take them off so I can dance. I want you to know, just take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. You broke the chains, so now I can lift my hands. And so those words were so encouraging to me because we all been through something.
Yeah.
We've all been through something. My grandmother used to say, you keep on living. If you have not been through something, keep on living. And so as we've all been through something, and I know I served so many families in the past weeks and since the last time that I've been on this television program, and some of them have been just been ripped apart by some of the things that have went on in their lives, and just being able to try to have some encouraging words, somebody that's going to be there for you to surround yourself, a network of people to just be around you, just to encourage you. But sometimes you have to go into your private place and listen to some Mary Mary and listen to that song over and over and again to say, man, I just want to be able to lift my hands again.
Sure.
So our topic today is going to be encouragers in your life and the critics that are in your life. And we're going to bounce that around positive criticism.
Sure.
So Stacey, give me some insight on the topic today. Give me some insight on what you've been going through in the past since the last episode and how things have been going for you, and give the viewing audience a little bit of your views, your opinions.
All right. Thanks, Brother Williams. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, UPTV family. And thank you, the Champaign-Urbana community family. I love this topic. When Brother Williams brought this topic to me in our preparation for today's episode, encouragers as opposed to critics, I really just grasped on and researched heavily this topic, because it's a topic that, as Brother Williams alluded to earlier, we deal with it every day. Every day we hit that front door, we're faced with either encouragers or critics, and unfortunately, you can't be both. You can't have one foot in the middle. You got to be all in or all out, as they say. So for encouragers, the Webster Dictionary meaning for encouragers is to give support, confidence, or hope to someone.
Right.
And in life insurance, we deal in life and death, and encouraging folks to do that thing that they may procrastinate and want to put off as long as possible, of getting a plan for the family and the grandkids. It takes a lot of encouragement. It takes a lot of thank yous. It takes a lot of sharing stories and sitting at the kitchen table talking about their grandmother and their father who's oftentimes preceded them in death, and what this really means. And thanks again on that topic. And of course, we got to go through the negative part of our topic, which is also the critics and the criticism and things of that nature. And I know that, Sean, you had something to share on that with one of the funerals that you did for the young lady in town, as far as, you know, how you saw both the encouraging side and the critic side. I'd like to have you weigh in on that for us.
You know, so big shouts out to the Ashley Gibson's family, Mom Renee and Rochella and Ray Niece and so many other family members that rallied around Renee during her time of tragedy and the family's time of tragedy for Miss Ashley Gibson. Really very high profile case, so just a tragical situation. I thank God for everybody that came together to help us put such a magnificent memorial service together for Ashley. I mean, but with the encouragers that were in there, and all those people were encouragers. I mean, from Church of the Living God, Bishop Lloyd E. Gwynn. I mean, from the candlelight vigil, Elder Harding. Oh God, you did a great, awesome job, Elder. All the reporters that came in for the press conference, and I mean, it was so so heartfelt. Just every reporter that you might know of from every news station. I mean, to just sit in that home and listen to that story from that family, and the tears could not stop flowing from just myself, the family, and even the reporters that do this every day. Just a young lady, 24 years old, losing her life, and then just the situation and the scenarios that were attached along with her losing her life, and the families that were charged with committing this horrific crime, you know. But just the encouraging part of it, man. I mean, I cannot say enough for Jordan Simmons and the people that played a part of that memorial service, Pastor Baker, just all of those people. I mean, the mothers, the people that came along, and the people that came by and said just great words. The critical part of it, you know, just, you know, everybody played some type of role in some critical part of it. I think during the time of a loss, like I've said on this program many times, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Yeah. And so those are the things that critical. It doesn't, when you come up to me, first of all, I'm never going to tell you anything about a deceased. Never, ever, ever, ever. So no sense in asking me about coming to you, coming to me, and Sean. I know Sean. Like people say, I know Sean. You might know me, but if you know me and you really, really, really know me, you know I have a fiduciary responsibility that a code of silence,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
You know, my responsibility is first to that deceased,
Right.
and then the second is to that family. And I'm going to be in behalf of that deceased. So it doesn't make a difference to me, you know, what happened. It doesn't make a difference to me during that point of, you know, if it was a gunshot victim, how many gunshots it was. It doesn't make a difference to me. And I'm never going to tell you any of that stuff.
Right.
So don't ask me, because I'm not going to tell you.
And Sean, let's kind of break that down for the audience as far as the critical nature. We've got that being a person who expresses an unfavorable opinion of something. And as we know with the Ashley Gibson case, there was a lot of unfavorable opinion on that. Just kind of go into not really the criticism of that, but how we can educate the audience as to how to receive the criticism and bounce that back and otherwise make that a positive experience for not only the Gibson family, which we're just, you know, that speaks for itself, what they're going through, but not only the Gibson family, but the other families involved on both sides of the coin. And you being a funeral director, me being in life insurance, how'd you make that work? How'd you turn that lemon into lemonade, so to speak? Help the audience with that.
You know, my job, I have several different hats that I wear. And just thank God for the God in me and the people that instilled things into me, how to be very versatile. And so, and flipping hats and being that community leader, and then being that funeral home owner, and being that insurance guy, being that brother, that sister, mentor to those sisters and people that's in the community. You know, these 6 guys that's been accused of this horrific crime, and then I knew all of those 6
Right.
guys. You know, and so just wrapping all that around, you got to find a way to show love. It just got to be a way that you just show love, and so dealing with the people that's part of the 6 and the dads and the moms that's a part of the 6. You can't beat yourself up about maybe I should have did this more, I should have did that more. You know, you can only instill in your children the best that you know how to instill in your children. You know, and so for that other separate side of that's the encouraging words I would say, and I said to those people, you know, those moms and those dads. For Renee, you know, from the time I met her, you know, from that, you know, the broken mom to that uplifting person that she was, and, you know, even to this day, you know, just, you know, loving on her and building her back up to be that strong mom and that strong family member, you know, that's going to wrap her family around, you know, what the tragedy that has happened, and to be able to move forward, because we all need to build a strategic defense against some type of pain that's happening, and some things that you can't even right now understand. Okay. And so at the time we couldn't understand. Right. And so now we're still trying to wrap our minds around it, still trying to find some answers. But I think that during that whole process, just be encouraging to just anybody that's connected with that situation.
Sure. And thanks. And what I hear from you too is what we've been doing this a long time. This isn't our first rodeo. And you taught me about this, Sean, is hurt people hurt people. And as we've kind of researched this topic, not only with our everyday professional lives, but in just generally how to deal with negative criticism, we came up with get the motives of your critics, okay, the people that come to you. Take necessary action, especially when someone crosses the line. Be straight and clear about your purpose. Stay calm. And sometimes critics might be right, and just acknowledge that we're wrong if we're wrong, and go with that. Did you find that you had to kind of instruct the family in these different ways that we've come up with on how they could deal with critics that might approach them at the grocery store, approach them at church, approach them in their everyday lives, and maybe have some negativity or just not it may have come off as negative, even if they may have been trying to be positive. They just said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Did you have to work with them on that beyond your funeral director duties?
Oh yeah, being that funeral home owner and just dealing with that situation, Stacy, I had to deal with a lot of that, and my job was to blanket this family and shield this family from all negativity. So if it was coming from media just trying to get a story, to be in there to say, hey, look, we're going to set a designated time up for that.
Right.
For that story. Let us prep up and let us wrap
Right.
our minds around to be prepared for a story,
Right.
not to just catch me off guard and just give you something, some unguarded words. And then, and also, the critical parts, some of the critical parts of it, those Facebook posts and people just going on Facebook and dialoguing back and forth like this isn't a person, or this isn't a family that's going through something.
Right.
You got to put yourself in the other person's shoes, and so
Empathy.
yeah, and you got to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. What if it was you and your family going
Right.
through? So
Right.
you always got to look at the other side and flip the coin, and then always be aware of the messenger.
Right.
You always got to be aware of
Right.
the messenger, and so I always be, when somebody come to me with something, and they might say, well, Sean, somebody said something about you. And then as you sitting there and you telling me all this stuff that happened while somebody told you something about me, I always look back at them and I say, well, what did you say?
Right.
What did you say? So why, did you lead them with some encouraging stuff that represented Sean, or did you feed into the negativity?
Right.
And so a lot of times the devil wants us to feed into the negativity, Stacy, and our viewing audience. A lot of times people, and it's so easy to feed into negativity.
Right.
But you got to stay that positive person to be able to say, hey, look, I'm not a negative person,
Right.
or I'm getting away from negativity, and I'm not going to feed into it. And you'll shut them down
Right.
by saying something more positive. That's going to always shut down. That light's going to always overshadow the darkness of that. And so, and then, watching the motives, watching the motives of your critics, of tearing people down. I always come into play where I want to build you up. When you walk in my presence and you leave from me, I want you to feel a little bit better about your situation, because that's what I want somebody to do for myself.
And that sounds like encouraging words.
Yeah.
Like you're capable of. Keep on trying. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
In our business, we write a lot of thank you letters, and,
Yeah.
and we write sorry for your loss letters, and we follow up because we really care. Now, as far as with the encouraging words, did you find that the community came out and gave support for the family? Were you satisfied with that? Are you satisfied with, as a small business owner in our community, with how the community came out to support this family and other families that may be in their circumstances?
Man, I feel like you one of them reporters.
Well,
Nah.
I'm the Grand Inquisitor here today as far as this goes, so that's my new title. I want to hear from myself and for the audience. I think they owe it. We owe it to them.
We owe it to them. And so, I mean, and I'm a keep it real person. I'm just a keep it real. So the views and opinions of Sean's. I'm a keep it real person. On one hand, with the people coming out to the service, to the vigil, to the things of that nature, I really appreciate everybody that came out and played a whatever role that you did play for a candlelight vigil of this magnitude, for this type of high-profile case that happened in the community. Like I said, we all got to see ourselves in certain situations, because it could be our loved ones, it could be our children, our grandchildren, and things of that nature. It's a tough thing to lose a loved one, and I like to see more support. I like to see more of our organizations, more of our churches, more of our people rallying around to be able to not only give a monetary donation to help out, but to be able to rally around these type of situations. And we can't rely on, the Champaign Police Department, big shouts out to you, all the investigators, Andre Davis and a bunch of those guys, just did an extraordinary job on keeping this family informed and about what was going on and what the details of what was going on with the situation. So big shouts out to you. But we can't rely on the city we can't keep coming back to the city and putting the responsibility back on the city. I was so happy to see in Danville on yesterday, because of the violence that's been happening the murders that's been going on in Danville, is that the NAACP spearheaded a 5-day march in Danville. So for 5 days they marched through different streets, different violent streets in Danville. It correlates with the Walk as One campaign that we do here in the city of Champaign.
Right.
And just rallying all city officials and churches and school districts and, different organizations to all blend together to be able to just denounce this type of violence that's been going on through the community. And so I thank the Lord that for everybody that played a role, but we can do a much better job of being proactive.
Right.
When something like this occurs in our community.
Right.
And so just keeping it 100 and real, Stacey, across the board, which I always try to do is keep it 100 real, even if it's for me, is, let's just do better. Let's do better.
And with that, let's kind of just dovetail into another part of our segment today, which is not only being encouraging and then also the critical and the criticism part, but also the constructive criticism part. And how we love feedback. You love feedback in your business. I love feedback in my business, because without feedback, we can't get better.
Yeah.
Like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates have always said. Steve Jobs, he's deceased now, but they've always said there's billions of dollars in feedback. So let's kind of dovetail just a little bit, Brother Williams, into the constructive criticism aspect, and where some things might have been lacking. As we like to say, victory loves preparation. In our industries, it's not that families plan to fail, it's that families fail to plan. So let's talk constructively about how our community can kind of come together with more maybe of a tighter fabric, so that we can kind of be a stopgap for some of these things before they actually happen, instead of being proactive and all jumping the gun once they happen and throwing blame and doing the blame game and shirking responsibility. What can we do constructively in advance of events that may occur, especially as the summer is upon us?
And so, Stacey, one of the things that I know I talked to you earlier part of last week when we were even just thinking about what the program would look like. Well, we definitely bounced back and forth about constructive criticism. And one of the things that I was able to elaborate with Stacey about on constructive criticism, it has an ingredient of love to it. And so when you're being constructive, you care about the person that you're critiquing.
Right.
You care about the outcome. You're not just saying something because you're trying to tear it down. You want to destroy it. You want to see him fail. You're saying it out of love because you want to be encouraging enough to see their success, be a part of the success, play a role in the success, watch a flower blossom, watch a person bloom, and that's part of that constructive criticism. You're just saying something to just be encouraging to them and being, a lot of times that when I tell somebody, or I say it on the radio program or anything that I'll do, I'll say, tell your people the tough stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you don't tell them the tough stuff, then you are setting them up for failure. And sometimes you got to be the bad guy. Sometimes it might not, everything that's good for you don't taste good, sound good.
What's that? It sounds like the bearer of bad news sometimes.
Sometimes you got to be the bearer of bad news, Stacey. And sometimes you got to say, well, man, that you did, that what you said, or that what you did, that might have not been the right stuff. Next time, if you ever go into that scenario again, you might want to handle it this way. And so many times we hate when people don't agree with us.
Yeah.
So many people want yes men on the team. And you can't have a bunch of people that's in leadership and everybody's on your team as a yes man.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's a part of the team that love the situation, love the entity that they're involved into, but you got to have somebody in there that's going to say, hey, look, hold on, sir. Why don't we add this to the program? Right. I think we might better suit our cause. We might be able to get better results if it was this. And so you always got to have somebody that's going to be encouraging, but critical a little bit, but have that element of constructive criticism.
And with that being said, Brother Williams, is that wouldn't you agree that we all thirst for approval, but we dread condemnation? Would you agree with that?
You know, so many times I'm a
Always just wanting to like be a follower instead of sometimes go out on our own island and do what's not popular at that time. Can you talk with that a little bit, especially for the young people?
I will.
As we go into social media next.
You know, I will, and so I'm a Facebooker. I'm a Facebooker. I like being on Facebook.
You got 5,000 friends, I might add.
You know, and I'm going to dovetail on that too.
Sure.
And you know, and so I'm a Facebooker. I'm a Facebooker. I want to write down something so I don't forget it. But I'm a Facebooker, and I get on Facebook and I look at comments all the time. And so many times I might even make a post. And a lot of times with social media and the feel goods of social media and the following of social media, and just like you said, I got 5,000 friends. Well, I probably got 4,940 of them that I don't even talk to.
Right, in your day to day. Yeah.
On a day to day,
Right.
you know, the rest of them are family members, really friends.
Right.
That I deal with on a regular basis, that really know me, that I talk to, that know my ins and my outs, know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, care about my welfare, maybe pick up the phone, call me, tell me when I'm wrong, tell me when I'm right, those type of things. And so most of them, and I was thinking about this morning, is that instead of Facebook calling their friends, they should have called their people you know.
Or frenemies.
You know, because sometimes we get this emotional feel good when we post something about likes. And it gives this fictitious feeling that these people like me. Yeah. These are my friends.
Mm-hmm. And there's some sort of trust there.
You know, but go on there with a GoFundMe account or something.
Right.
You know, for some type of goal that you're trying to reach or some type of tragedy that happened, and see how many of those friends, so-called friends, add something to a GoFundMe or to a memorial account or to, you know, I'm just down on my luck and I need to.
Just even an inspirational comment.
Or just something inspirational.
Hey, keep it up. Keep on trying.
So many times, Stacey, I've put something on Facebook about just the importance of having insurance, or just something about insurance, or affordability of insurance, or maybe even some stuff that you might not know about insurance. And my likes on it might be 15 likes,
Sure.
You know, but Lord and behold, let me put something on there, feed into something else with something that got something to do with something negative. And I got,
Sure.
man, I probably have 200 or 300 likes and about 40 comments,
Sure.
You know, where people will
Sure.
feed into that. And it's starting to be more popular to be more negative than it is to be positive.
Right.
And so everybody
encouraging.
wants to be more negative and be critics.
Right.
And be more critical. I know this one particular guy that's on Facebook, and I'm the type of person, if you say something to me, you know, you don't throw a rock and hide your hand.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And
on
so
that one.
Facebook allows you, and social media allow you to be this wizard behind this computer, and you can throw rocks and think that nobody's gonna call you on it. Mm-hmm. And so, but it also has a component of it where you can also call the person.
Yeah.
On Facebook, on your phone, and you could just push their name and push call, and it goes right to their information and goes right to their phone number and call them. So I called them on the phone. Hey, man, why is it every time I post something,
Right.
you got something negative, critical to say?
Right.
Is it
uplift?
Are we into it?
Right.
I got to know if we're into it, because
Right.
sometimes you can be into it, folks, and you don't know we're into it, but they know they're into it with you.
So what are you saying, that you feel like sometimes that a person may cross the line and then act like they didn't cross the line, or kind of hide behind that glass house, so to speak, cross the line and never feel like they're going to be called out on it?
And you gotta go into it with love. You know, you can't go into it confrontational. You know, no, we ain't finna fight about it, but I want to address it man to man.
Right.
You know, the Bible talks about if you have a brother or a sister or somebody that you're into it with, then go to that person.
So be clear.
Go to
Be
that person.
straightforward
Go
with
straight
it.
forward with
Yeah,
them and
yeah.
ask them. You know, don't you start Facebook boxing back and forth with them. So I'm not going to Facebook back and forth in the public, because I always got to remember I got a certain level of character that I got to always keep, a certain level of character about myself.
Because you're a professional.
And I'm going to always be that. And the fact that it's not just me.
Right.
I got a ton of people that have poured in me to do what I need to do.
Right.
And so I got to represent them at all times too.
Right.
And that's just like you in the viewing audience. I mean, you're just not here on the island by yourself. You have people that look up to you and what you do on an everyday basis.
Right.
And you gotta add all of those things in the detail before you make a response. You just don't just react. And a lot of times we just emotionally react off something because we didn't like what somebody say, or they haven't gave us the likes that we like.
Sure.
You know, okay, you might have not have gave me the like or the response, but I'm going to address you on it so that I know where we stand at in this community. Because one thing I hate about in this community is that it's always somebody in the room that don't want to see you come up. It's always somebody in the family that don't want to see the family succeed. It's always somebody trying to derail the process. You know, you trying to move forward. You trying to take the shackles off your feet so you can dance. And somebody trying to trip you up so you can fall.
Right.
And you got those people. You got those people that's right in your family. You got those people that's right inside your church. You got the people right inside your organization or your community group.
Sure. Well, let's talk about, for the audience's sake, let's keep it on the track, and that's what you got me here for. Now, let's talk a little bit about back to the constructive criticism, because some of what you just shared with the audience, I feel like was kind of like in the line of the constructive criticism. And one of the models for the constructive criticism is to know your audience and trust your audience. Do you find that maybe with Facebook and having 5,000 friends that somehow your audience became diluted at a certain point, having that many friends, and such that you don't have that trust and really know the person to the point of that a lot of those comments are even accurate? Do you find that has something to do with maybe a miscommunication sometimes on social media?
It's a couple things that came to mind when you said that. One of the things, I thank the Lord for Pastor Johnson over at Jericho Missionary Baptist Church. I really do, because he's poured a lot into me in his last 5 years.
And he wasn't paid to say that.
I thank the Lord because he's poured a lot into me. One of the things that I've heard him say in one of his sermons is that always listen to people, because they'll tell you how they really feel. Listen to people, and that's reading too. Watch what they say, because they'll tell you what they're all about. And that's the reason why employers go to your Facebook page before they hire you. It's the reason why when investigators are investigating a crime, they'll go to a person's Facebook page and read who they're dealing with. It's the reason why people research you out off of Facebook and other social media outlets, because it tells the ingredients of you. You know, and I always, for me, because I base a lot of my stuff off of religion and faith standards. I always know that the devil's in the details of a lot of stuff. So keeping that in mind, I always watch and stay guarded about what I do and what's being said on Facebook. You know, and it could be a great tool. And what we use it for, we do a lot of for marketing.
Right.
I use a lot of that type of stuff for marketing. It's not to put on every single time something happened in my life, then I throw it on Facebook, or throw my family pictures out there, my mama and them picture, and all of that type of stuff. Oh, I broke my knee today, and and I want everybody to know.
Right.
Some of those things are very, very, very personal for some people. So I don't want you to get construed of what it is.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right.
But you got to use it in a way that it serves you and the people that you're connected with. And so and the constructive part of that, is use it for the way that you might be able to express some type of love and generosity to other people.
Yeah, and what I like, what you shared there is the positivity of the social media. Like you used to mention it as a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And when you used to mention that a couple of years ago, that meant to me, that's what it meant for me when you shared it with me, is that it can go good or it can go bad.
Real
and
fast.
as we research this program today, I found social media in the form of YouTube is a great resource for how we could help the audience and help ourselves get prepared for this program. And I know you being in funerals and insurance and me being in life insurance, I use YouTube, I find more now than I use Facebook. Do you care to share a little bit about how we can positively enlighten the audience as to how to be more encouraging?
Oh, yeah.
As far as YouTube and some social media outlets that way?
And you know what? It can be a grave resource to you. It's bringing the relationship right into the living room.
Right.
And so you don't have to, if you miss a TD Jake sermon,
Right.
you don't have to, save it on your television. You can go right to it and you can pull it up, at the blink of an eye while you're out at the park, and you can listen to a sermon, or you can research something out, through a YouTube video. I can listen to Eric Thomas. I can listen to Eric Thomas.
TD Jakes.
Yeah, I could listen to one
Les
of those
Brown.
guys. Or if I'm trying to do something where I'm trying to find out how to put a radiator on my car,
Right.
I can go to YouTube, and YouTube gonna go through it line by line, step by step, with an example with a person that's actually taking that part off that car. And so you can use it in all kinds of positive ways.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do here, be encouraging
and
as
so
well.
so it depends on what you're looking for.
Right.
What you're looking for. Now you can go to all kinds of negative YouTube stuff that's out there too.
And this is a family program.
And so yeah. And so when I mentioned, I'm an old school guy, about to turn 47 here if the Lord bless me, nothing happens within about a month. But I'm an old school guy with old school principles. And so by me starting to get involved in the computer and the computer world and to social media, I still got some old school principles with it.
Sure.
And when I mentioned Pandora's Box probably a few years ago,
Sure. You remember?
Yeah, I remember that. And so I'm just starting to get familiar with this, and I'm like a lot of other seniors that are out there, don't want to get involved with all that because we don't understand, how this even works. And you can push the wrong button,
Sure.
and the world knows everything about you, when you go to this social media stuff,
Yeah, even Google.
Yeah, and so you got to stay guarded, and you got to stay guarded when you're out there. They call it surfing the web.
Yeah.
So when you're out there surfing, you might run into a tidal wave.
And be prepared.
So you might
Victory
run into a tidal,
loves preparation.
But that was one of the things that just during this whole process of just doing social media, and one of the things because we always talk about our youth, a lot of times our youth are out there. A lot of times, as a parent, we don't know what our youth are doing with social media.
Right.
So we just rely on just the government, or rely on Mark Zuckerberg, or one of these guys that's created these tools for us to use, have guarding our young people away from stuff that they
Right.
should not be even turned on to, or stuff that they should even be watching.
Right.
And so we got to really get down to it and find out what our young people are really doing on social media.
And along with and I love this constructive criticism part of this conversation, and it's something that you share to the mix with the encouragement, and then also the flip side of the criticism. Let's talk about how not to attack. Let's talk about how, before we constructively criticize, whether it be our youth or our coworkers or even our family and friends, let's talk a little bit about that conversation and the elements that have to be in place, such as the trust, such as the don't attack, provide solutions, don't make it personal. Let's talk a little bit more about how we can constructively criticize somebody without that person thinking that they're personally attacked. Especially with you having been a barbershop proprietor, you deal with the youth. A lot of what we do is youth-oriented. Let's just kind of talk to our youth right now and our parents of our youth as to how we can approach our children without them feeling like we're throwing them under the bus. Speak on that.
One of the things because when I go to these coalition meetings and stuff like that, I always ask, what can the community do? And then me and my nephew Jamal, we always bounce back, and we're like-minded fellas, And so what we always talk about is what can you do right at your home, at
Right.
the home front. I mean, everything starts right back and go right back to the home front. And what I've always said was this, Stacy, is you cannot be your kids' friends.
Right.
You, out of all people, got to tell your kids the tough stuff and be that guardian of the kids. And guardian goes back to being a guard.
Right.
The
Right.
river,
It starts with that.
deriving off the word to be in the guard,
Sure.
protector, from everything that's out there, But so many times we're starting to be the friends of our kids. We want to be liked. We want to be liked, get likes in the house.
Right.
Or dad's a great guy, or mom's just, she lets me have everything. Well, that might not be all so good.
Right.
Because a lot of times as being that guy, that older guy, we got towed up if we did something wrong. We got chastised. And then sometimes I never did like corporal punishment. So when I got into the military, I really didn't like corporal punishment because if one soldier did something wrong, we all paid the consequence behind it.
And the other night you had kind of mentioned that. You said chastised and you said ridiculed. And oftentimes those words in today's society, they're like almost absent from the dictionary. Ridiculed, what that to me means that you made fun of someone or you made them feel bad, which when we grew up in our era, feeling bad sometimes was a good thing because let's just face it, not everything in life feels good. So is that a societal problem? Is that a family problem? And if so, what are some things that people, this is self-development, so what are some things that people can do to kind of grow thick skin, Sean? I know you're big on that. A lot of because of your rearing.
We did an episode called Proper Preparation Prevents Poor Performance.
I remember that one.
People don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan.
Right.
And that's what we say in insurance. If you start raising a young person, see, I knew back in the day, when my mama said go in her purse, I went in her purse.
Right.
I didn't touch anything that I wasn't supposed to touch
Right.
in her purse.
Right.
As a young lad, I knew every dollar that was in her purse
Right.
better be in there. We didn't take anything, and we knew better. And that came from me watching repetitious by my older brothers and sisters because she had instilled into them. And so I don't go with you cannot raise these children because you don't have a dad in the household.
Right,
I watched
right,
it done.
Right.
Somebody
right.
raised 8 children.
Right.
And I'm not saying,
Nation.
and I'm not saying my mom's just better than any other mom out there. You know what I'm saying? But I will say that my mom stood up and faced the reality of what she was going through. Because you got to understand at where you're at a place in your life of where you're at and what you got to deal with, and that love and that constructive criticism, that love that you got to deal with. And so when we were examples in the community, and I just ran into this at a funeral I did for a person, and I ran into an older lady that remembered when she told my mom when I was throwing rocks at a bus stop. And when I got home, my mom had got home from work. Oh man, I got tore up.
The switch.
I got tore up because I showed them a bad example, a representation of my mom at that bus stop. And it ain't what you do when people watching. It's what you do when people ain't watching.
Right.
And she taught me that lesson. It's when people are not watching. And so that's the things that we got to instill within our young people.
Right.
When people are not watching, is your young person running around with a blunt behind his ear, pants down to his ankles,
Right.
cussing around elderly and senior people, disrespecting the community, doing things that just ungodly, we know that's not even in alignment with being a productive citizen. And so many times they show you those type of attributes in the household, but nobody said something. Where the uncle know those things, the aunt might know those things, but we don't address them.
And with that being said, going back to the foundation, would you agree that the household is really probably based on the elements that need to be there for constructive criticism, vis-a-vis positive feedback? Wouldn't you agree that the household would be the best place to kind of start to wrap your hands and arms in just like you said, a guardian model for kids? Shouldn't it start in the household? Because isn't that usually where the most trust is?
You know, Stacy, one of the things that I'm currently dealing with a situation of a situation with an elderly person, and that elderly person didn't have a lot of education. But one of the things she instilled was love and principles and all kind of morals and
Right.
values
Right.
within her family that's even led up to today. You know, and until she passed away, those things have been instilled into that family that make that family be able to smile during this whole process
Right.
of bereavement.
Right.
They feel encouraged. They feel proud.
Yeah.
They feel, you know, and so we're going to go into a homegoing celebration.
Right. A celebration of life.
It's a celebration of
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not something
yeah.
doom and gloom.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I've listened to another sermon, Pastor Lakevi C. He said, how are you going to rest in peace when you didn't live in peace?
Right. Right.
How are you going to rest in peace when you didn't live in peace? So that starts up from the ground up. You know, you don't have to have a master's degree or some type of doctrine or all these different titles on your name to just be a good person,
Right.
to just be a good dad, a good mom, a good uncle, good aunt, grandparent. You don't have to have all those things to be able to just take some time out. I listened to a mom say, you know, I told my kid's father that if you would just take the time out to take them to a park, that'll mean more than any Christmas gift. That'll mean more than any birthday gift. If you just take some time out.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we so busy that we don't take the time out for the most important things of our lives.
Which are a lot of times free. You know, it takes me back with, and thank you for that testimony. You kind of, more so than most, kind of have an unfair advantage because you deal with so many families and you are so outgoing and personal in the community. That kind of reminds me, as I'm sitting here kind of just listening to what you're sharing, of how during our funeral planning process with the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, how just being that attentive listener, asking that person what their favorite flowers are, asking that person who's going to be in charge of their final arrangements when they die, asking that person which funeral home they want to use, which I strongly recommend, Sean, of course. I'm biased on that. But that takes me back to just listening to that person and taking that extra 5 minutes with that person, taking that extra 10 minutes, because us being in the same business, we understand that folks don't care about how much we know until you know how much we care about you. And that just kind of reminds me of that. And I know you're still visible at the WIP, although you're really not there as much anymore because you're so busy doing everything else. But kind of talk about how you encourage your barbers, your stylists to kind of be positive with the community when they're doing kids' cuts, and here with the summer coming up. Kind of talk about the environment that you've kind of implemented over there, which kind of is there even when you're not there. Talk about that.
You know, Stacy, we started that barbershop probably around 16 years ago, me and Miel. And, you know, RIP to my buddy Miel, you know, that started that barbershop with me. We went to Concept College and just being able to rely on his mom that I was going to help him where we can own our own business. Sure. And during that time of development, you know, we ran into a lot of people looking outside that window and seeing the hurt and the pain right out there, you know, over top of that parking lot as people
Sure.
transition back and forth, you know, and
Talk
just saying
about how the guy used to stand out there even.
Yeah.
Just stand out there like it was back in the old days when there was an old building there and now it's something else. Just kind of share with the audience what you've shared with me through the hours that we've been together.
You know, and that particular incident is, you know, just going out there and just communicating with people, just building that rapport, communicating with people. But as I stood on that block, you know, because you got to run your block, you know, and so as I stood on that block many, many years, you know, I told this guy, hey, man, you just can't stand out here.
Right.
He said, well, Sean, I've been standing out here since the 60s. You know, well, I'm like, look, man, you ain't found it yet. You know, you've been out here for 40 years.
That sounds critical.
You've been out here for 40, no, you've been out here for 40 years. You know, what are you looking for? And so many times our people were out there for 40 years, in the wilderness for 40 years. You know, and it go back to me with the children of Israel. You're in the wilderness for 40 years, just frivolously walking around, blind, lost, and nobody ever comes say anything to you, you know. So what I did is I made the guy a part of the program. You ain't going nowhere, so pick a broom up. You ain't going nowhere, pick a broom up, man. Come on, pick a mop up. Let me show you how to mop. You know, let me give you a few dollars for your time.
And that's encouraging.
You know, that's encouraging. You know,
Because
make somebody
you did that with love and not as dismissing that.
Yeah, make you part of the program. But you know, when you go back to our youth that I've dealt with over the years, you know, we had these part of these 6 guys, and it was probably about 3 of them guys or maybe 2 of them guys that were involved into a network of about 15 or 20 of these guys at one time that used to come to the shop. And this was some years ago when they were very, very young. And some of these moms, good, some of them maybe not, did some great things, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I'm just gonna keep it 100 across the board. And these kids, they came in and they were magnets to that barbershop to come around and be around some men.
Yeah.
And so as they came and they told me what had happened to them earlier that day down at Douglas Center Park, where an officer got out of his car, and this was that old regime that we had before. And the officer went up and he didn't say encouraging words to him.
Right.
He told those young men and those young boys at the time that, you know, up in your upcoming life, I'm going to be arresting you and I'm going to be taking you to jail and sending you to the penitentiary.
Right.
That's what he told those young guys. And they flew down to the barbershop because they knew my involvement and my care for them is to ask me and talk to me about what had just happened to them. And I told him, I said, you know what? I said, each one of you guys are challenged at this moment to not be a result of what that officer told you.
Right. Right.
You kick against that with every ounce of energy that's in you. And I said, unfortunately, out of you 20 guys, statistics are going to shoot you down.
Yeah.
And some of you guys statistically are either going to be in prison. Statistically, you're going to be dead. Yeah. Statistically, you know, you're going to be not with your family.
Right.
You're not going to be a dad that's with a family. You're not going to be in that household raising your family. You know, you're going to be unemployed.
Yeah.
You know, and so at a funeral I was doing some years ago, one of those young guys, and that probably happened maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
And one of those guys came up to me probably 3 years ago and said, hey, man, I remember that conversation that you had with me. And he said, some of my friends are dead now. Some of my friends are locked up. He said, man, but I'm out here trying to raise my family. Yeah. And sometimes I almost bring tears to my eyes because I could see the whole envision of them young people. I could see the whole envision.
A network of 20 of them.
Man, that just waters me up because I could see that whole vision of those young people. And you got to care about some stuff in this community. You know, you just can't be doing it out in this community just because it's something that you just do.
Right.
You know, the things that I do in this community, you know, sometimes I might get rewarded monetarily from it. A lot of times I don't get rewarded from it monetarily. It ain't about that because of the fact that that'll come down the road if you just put your heart and your love into what you do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about sitting at that table with them families, with the consumer's guardian, and you being in their best interest.
And really caring about
who you're working with. And people and those seniors that we sit down with, they'll feel that. Because a lot of times, Stacey, I know your experience is like my experience. When I sit down with some of those seniors and go over some of that paperwork and break it down to a level they can understand, and I'm not talking over their head, they love on me like I'm a grandson.
You see that apple in their eye.
And they'll start passing other paperwork to me and other bills and stuff that they can't understand. And they'll say, you know what, young man, can you read this for me?
Yeah. You know, when you shared that testimony as far as those guys over at your shop, that's what I was really looking for. We sit here in the studio and we're in a nice environment out here in Urbana and we do well professionally and in our lives. But I know you and I, when we talk after the program, before the program, and during the program, we're really here for the audience. And those examples right there, they just, not only do they water you up and water me up, but we're here to touch you, the audience, and also try to enlighten and help your day, because we know we live the same life you live, and we know it's not all blue skies out here, but but those experiences and what you just shared are really what make this worth it for me.
Yeah.
Because we can only do our part. You know, we can't change the world, but we can just only try to do our part. And when you see us next week, this week, maybe today or tomorrow, just come talk to us and share with us how we can be a better resource for you, the community.
You know, and man, as I reflect and I think about all of this, Stacey, you know, I remember going to the bank one time and my banker and Steve, big shouts out to you, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for all your help. I know you're retired now,
Yeah.
but I thank you for all the help that
And
you
your
have
grass
provided.
looks beautiful
Yeah.
out there. I see you cut that grass every day, Steve.
You know,
Keep it up.
And so, you know, one of the things he told me was, Sean, don't sell me no blue sky.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the leaders that are in charge of our well-being sell you blue sky and don't tell you the tough stuff. Always be under some leadership where they're going to give you some constructive criticism. That's a dash of love. They care about your well-being. They care about the outcome of you. They care about your success. You know, and so many times we keep getting the same old watered down message, and come Monday, we're no better than we were when we showed up early Sunday morning. No, we got to be better because like Stacey just said, we can only do so much.
Right.
Other people can only do so much, but you are control of your destiny.
Right.
You are control of your outcome. Go back and get what the devil then took from you. If it's going back to school, go back to school. If it's going back to apologize to a family member about something that happened way back in the day, apologize. Be the better person. Don't even ask what the scenario was. Don't even revisit it. Just move forward. Because a lot of times, it doesn't even make a difference.
And you get tired, and at a certain point, you forget why you're even mad. And you're walking around here mad, upset, insulted, and you forgot why.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to share is to be able to forgive means to be forgiven. And if you can forgive a person for an insult that they may or may not have meant, that's only going to just help us, you know, with our healing process. And that's what we're here for.
And that's exactly what we're here for. Hey, man, I thank the Lord for you. Thank the Lord for you, Jason. Thank the Lord for everybody that watched this television program every single night. Thank you for letting us tape another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. Thank you.